This is WOCA, News Talk 1370.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. You know, that crazy news out of Roanoke, Virginia. Sometimes the only remedy for people who have done us wrong is an attorney. And it's so important that we have the laws that we have and attorneys who understand it and well-spoken attorneys who can represent us in court. And John Fuller has proven himself to be a well-spoken attorney. I love when we get him mad, actually, because then he goes into that mood. He's live today on Wednesday, August 26th. If you want to ask John a question, the number is 622-9622. Remember, today's date is August 26th. 2015. If you're listening on that date, then you're listening to a live show and you're welcome and invited to call. John is, of course, from the law firm of Fuller & Fuller here in Ocala. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Larry. It's great to be back live. I was out the last two Wednesdays, I think, so I always enjoy the live part of our show. We've been very blessed with some very conscientious listeners and people who call in with good questions. We try to talk in general terms about certain areas of the law that I practice in, primarily personal injury, serious injury, wrongful death, business, commercial lawsuits or disputes, and to a certain degree, very complex, complicated, major issue family law matters, because they usually lap over with the business commercial component, which is why I do a few of those at a complex type of case. My wife, Janet Fuller, who was a registered nurse at Shands Teaching Hospital at the University of Florida for 7 years before getting her law degree and starting practicing law in 1988, I think. She handles almost exclusively Social Security disability cases where people have been denied Social Security disability benefits. So if those are the areas, certainly give us a call. You can find us on our website, ocala-lawyer.com. If we have a call, we're happy to talk with those.
Yes, sir, you do have a call. Good morning. You're on there with John Fuller.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question. My friend, she has a joint custody, and she has also the right for first refusal. And when she goes to pick up her kids from the father's house, the grandparents interfere and they don't let her have the right for first refusal. And then they call her the police and they say that she's trespassing their property. What should she do in that?
I'm not sure I understood all of your factual scenario. Who is it that is aggrieved and feels like they're not being treated fairly? I didn't understand that. I'm sorry.
Okay, my friend, she has a joint custody with the father. And she also has the right for first refusal. Her and the father both have the right for first refusal. So when the father is not around, she has the right to go pick up her kids, to take care of her kids while the father is not around. So when she goes over there to pick up the kids, the grandparents, the father's parents interfere and they don't let her have the kids, and they call the police for trespassing their property. And she is not able to pick up her kids. What should she do?
Well, that is dependent upon the language in the final judgment, the conduct and demeanor of the parents. Those facts are 100% identical to a case that I am litigating right at this moment. In fact, I suspect it might even be predicated upon that case. And I will tell you that the terms and provisions in the final judgment and those issues are something that will be determined by a judge as to whether or not a parent has violated the terms and conditions of the final judgment. If a parent violates intentionally the terms of a final judgment, they may be held in contempt of court, and the court can impose sanctions, including awarding attorney's fees to the other side, striking the pleadings, and even in certain cases putting the person who is in willful violation in jail for not complying with it. So the remedy is before a judge, and that's really all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. That was an interesting one. Wow. The phone number is 622-9622 if you'd like to call and ask John a question. So it sounds like when the father's not there, the grandparents have the children, and she doesn't want that. So she wants the baby or whatever. More than one child. I didn't understand that part, but
well, the final judgment spells out, what the circumstances of each case are, and regardless of what the general law is, the first thing you do is look at what did the judge say when they had the trial, and if the judge said certain things were to happen, and one parent doesn't abide by that, then it is. Judges take very seriously the compliance with their judgments and enforcing their orders, and especially when the best interest of the children are at risk, and there are provisions so that you can have a guardian ad litem appointed, as we have done in the particular case that I'm involved with, where the judge has appointed another lawyer who looks after the children's best interest when there's disputes. There's a lot of remedies there, and there's two sides to every story.
And you'd have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Hello. I would like to know if my trees, the big trees that have limbs, some of the limbs go on the next door roof, and it's made a little hole in their roof. Am I responsible for that?
Well, thank you for calling. We get that question about once every 2 months on this show for the last 3 years, and I'm delighted to have it come back up because it is a question that is on a lot of people's mind, and especially during hurricane season. And hopefully, we'll escape any hurricanes this year. The law basically says that if the tree is located on one property owner's property and the limbs extend out over the property line on someone else's property, and the limb or the tree falls on the other property owner and damages his or her house or garage or premises, that the landowner where the tree was located is not liable for that unless the tree was readily apparent that it was diseased, damaged, dead, or not a normal, healthy tree. If to the layperson, a reasonably prudent person, the tree looked healthy, had no reason to believe it wasn't healthy, and a limb blew off in a rainstorm or the tree blew over, then that's the neighbor's responsibility for the repairs. Now, having said that, if the limbs extend out over the property line and over the neighbor's property from a tree that's on the other neighbor's property, the person who has the limbs extending over their property has the legal right to cut the limbs back to the property line. They can get a tree surgeon or whatever they need, and they can cut those limbs off. They have every right to do that without permission, and the other property owner is not entitled to stop them from removing those overhanging limbs.
Okay, well, that sounds real good because it's a healthy tree, and really it's just some little limbs, but
Well, they have the right to cut the limbs off. They have the right to cut the limbs off back to the property line.
But they can cut the whole thing off.
But they can't cut. They can't go over on the other neighbor's property and cut the tree down. And if the tree fell on their house, unless it was apparently diseased or rotted or had some half split or had been struck by lightning or other apparent weakness that would give a reasonable person reason to believe that it would be at risk, then that's another matter. If it's a diseased tree and you should have known it and it falls, then the neighbor who had the tree could be held responsible. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling. And you do have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
Sticking with the subject on trees, if your neighbor has a very, very large oak tree and the root system is coming underground to your property and it does damage to your septic and drain field, would that person be liable for fixing it?
No, but you have the right to trim back those roots. If you've got the same thing with the limbs. I mean, if the tree's on the other property, but it's growing into the neighbors and causing damage, they have a right to remove that back to the property line.
Yeah, well, the problem there is the damage is being done without being able to notice it because it's underground, and then all of a sudden your septic system fails, and then you know what the reason is. The guy tells you that your neighbor's tree.
I don't think the property owner where the tree is located is liable for that.
Okay, fine. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We need to take a little break, and we'll be right back. We've got another 14 minutes left in the show. Your phone calls are very informative, and we learn from those phone calls.
Absolutely.
So if you have something you want John to answer, this is a great time to call, 622-9622. You are listening to a live show. If you're listening on August 26th, 2015, that's today's date. If it's that same date on your calendar, you're listening to a live show, and we would love to hear from you. 622-9622. We'll be right back.
Weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident for today. Times of sun and clouds. There'll be a couple of thunderstorms around, the high 90 to 94. And partly cloudy skies tonight with a shower or thunderstorm in the area, though 72 to 76. A mix of clouds and sun tomorrow with a couple of thunderstorms around, high 86 to 90. On Friday, more clouds and sun with a thunderstorm or two, especially in the afternoon, the high 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Ocala Aviation now has opportunities for flight instructors.
Wait, hold on. Brad, is this correct? You're looking for instructors, not students?
Actually, we're looking for both.
Well, that's descriptive.
Well, I need flight instructors because we're now affiliated with a major university and can offer 4-year degrees. Plus, we're also approved to work directly with VA students.
Okay, so a degree in what, and what's a VA student?
Well, it's a bachelor's degree in aeronautics, which includes a commercial pilot's license, and there's financial aid available. By VA students, I mean veterans. They now have access to new benefits to pay for flight training.
Okay, so you have new opportunities for new students. What about the instructor side of it?
Well, with new students, we need more instructors.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So, if anyone out there is a flight instructor, I want to encourage them to come see me. And if they're not an instructor but have their commercial license, we can help them become an instructor.
So they get their instructor license and have a job too.
Exactly.
So you got a lot going on. The VA, the college, and now hiring instructors and future instructors too.
Yep. So now can we get the commercial started?
Already ahead of you.
Call Brad to get your adventure started today at Ocala Aviation, 861-7484.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy. Never being in the mood. And when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind, with a custom treatment plan that really works. I feel great. They can create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
Don Nottingham of the Miami Dolphins here, proud to be this year's chairman of the Special Olympics Champions for Champions event. Come join players from the world of professional sports, sharing their stories with a great dinner on Friday, September 18th, and/or play at Candler Hills Golf Club on Saturday, September 19th. Either way, you'll be helping the Special Olympics of Marion County Champions for Champions. Call 988-7998 for details. That's 988-7998. Please help our Special Olympians.
All right, just 11 minutes now before 11 o'clock. That's 11 minutes of information from John Fuller. If you want to ask John a question directly, go ahead and call right now, 622-9622. Today's date, again, is August 26th. Well, that was a pretty interesting first half.
We had some new callers, for which I'm very delighted. I always enjoy and appreciate hearing from those people who are conscientious about calling in regularly. But it's nice that we get some new people with new interests. Again, let me say, if you've been seriously hurt in an automobile accident, go to the doctor and get medical treatment straight away. Don't make any statements to anyone except your lawyer, law enforcement doing an accident investigation, and your own insurance company. And if you're seriously hurt and you want to talk with a lawyer who handles personal injury cases, I've been board certified by the Florida Bar as a civil trial lawyer since 1985. I handle those cases, and our office number is 352-547-4292. Our website, which has all our information on it and our background and our qualifications, is ocala-lawyer.com. And that's very important for people who have been in an accident not to wait. They need to. Everybody now generally has a cell phone with a camera in it. Immediately, right. If they're physically able or someone who's there with them is physically able, I recommend they take photographs at the accident of their car and the other vehicle and get medical care immediately. So I want people to bear that in mind, because sometimes we enjoy talking about the things that affect our lives. And the neighbor's tree, that can be really annoying, and it can be quite an issue during a storm.
Which we're looking at one right now, possibly.
Well, I hope not. I haven't checked, so you probably right up to the minute being here in radio where everything comes in hot off the wire.
We have another phone call, John. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Thanks, Larry, and thanks, John, for being in the studio today live.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
Good morning, John. It's a sad case what just happened in Virginia with the two reporters, but I just wanted to say that I don't think a lot of people in this listening audience in general understand the importance of what John's associated with. If you look at as a lawyer defending innocent victims, if you look at what happened in Texas, they put the power of the, I know Larry gets tired of me probably describing it that way. My English, I don't know how else to say it, but the power of the corporations are really limited what people are entitled to when it comes to suing somebody for a case of negligence, whether it's in an accident, or a car accident or some type of work-related accident. And the cap, in case the host doesn't know, it's $250,000. And the way I try to explain it to my coworkers, John, I'm just a rudimentary, layman, a carpenter, but I tell guys at work, that if you have a child that's in a vehicle with their parent and they get in an accident, which is caused by the manufacturer, and that child ends up in a wheelchair, that $250,000 for the rest of that child's life really won't even hardly get them out of the hospital, let alone be able to sustain a living. And who else do you turn to other than a lawyer? And I just wish that listeners would understand that that's why, in general, the Lawyers Guild, which is the association of lawyers that stand up for each other so they can defend individual Americans, like Abraham Lincoln, for those who don't know, Abraham Lincoln was a person that took on the power of the Mississippi water people that control the Mississippi River on the behalf of individual farmers. In other words, he defended the little guy as a lawyer, and that's what individual lawyers do, in my opinion. And there are corporate lawyers, and that's what John Edwards, who ran for president, represented the individual up against the power of the corporate lawyers. And the corporations are so powerful Texas would be an example of $250,000. Most bills, I got hit, John, riding my bicycle, and just to get out of the hospital, and this was 20 years ago, was nothing, but it's $15,000. I'm like, I didn't know that. I had just gotten out of the Marine Corps. So I wish, John, if you could address the why the Lawyers Guild also associates with a particular political party on the behalf of individuals. I'm not asking for a political endorsement, but just explain the difference between the two, if you doesn't mind. Thanks, John.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that with us. I don't know anything about Texas law. I do know that it's important for people to carry as much insurance as they can on their own automobile. You can have uninsured motorist coverage and an umbrella policy, and if you can afford it, that's the best way to protect yourself, because you are absolutely right. The cost of medical care now for catastrophic injuries are just off the charts. There is a real tragedy, and there's not a good solution to it, that if a defendant, whether it be a corporation or another individual, whether or not they have sufficient assets that are available for levy of execution if you get a judgment against them, is very problematic. My father, who had an 8th grade education, loved to say you can't get blood from a stone. Actually, he grew up on a farm in the South. He said you can't get blood from a turnip, but it's the same premise. And, I've had many cases where there have been catastrophic injuries, and there simply was not enough insurance, nor was there enough assets that the individual or entity had that you could make the person whole by recovering every dollar of damages that they had. And people need to be aware of that. And sometimes there is no good remedy. You exhaust whatever insurance there is that you have on your vehicle. You have a claim against the party who is at fault to the extent of their insurance and assets. After that, hopefully you would have health insurance or Medicare that would be secondary, that would help. But people who have life-threatening, change of life injuries, paralysis, quadriplegia, paraplegia, those things, you're talking millions of dollars of health care costs and patient care and life care over their lifespan. And so if it's some big Fortune 500 company, yes, you can sue the company and they have a deep pocket, and that's where it's these big verdicts that you see come from. Texas may have a cap on damages. Some states have caps that vary for different amounts, but I don't think any state has a cap on recovering the hard damages like lost wages, lost future wages, medical bills, future medical bills, that sort of thing. Those you can recover if they have assets on that. There may be a cap in different states. You mentioned $250,000 in Texas. I'm not familiar with that on pain and suffering. But those vary from state to state, and if you are injured, certainly if you're in a catastrophic injury, your family needs to contact a lawyer. We do that. I'd be happy to talk to anyone who's been seriously injured in an automobile accident.
Really good show today, John. If I could ask you to wrap it up by giving your contact information, yes, I think the listeners would benefit.
I'm John Fuller with the law firm of Fuller and Fuller. Our office number is 352-547-4292. Our toll-free number is 855-534-2565. If you want to check us out and get all of our information and these contact numbers, please go to ocala-lawyer.com. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And for the listeners, if you want to share this with anybody, remember we do record these shows as videos, and they are usually up on the internet by about 2 o'clock on each day. So today at 2 o'clock, John's video should be up there, and it's on YouTube. Just go to the WOCA channel, and you'll be able to see it there. Good show today,
Thank
John.
you. I enjoyed it. Yes, I've
Wow.
missed being here, and thanks to all our listeners and all our callers. They really made the show fun today, and I really am grateful for it. Thanks to you, Larry, and everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We'll take a little break and be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Pam Puso. They were murdered